Alright, so we are back with Cartier fragrances, and today we're going to be smelling LEnvol de Cartier Eau de Parfum and Eau de Toilette, and then we're going to be smelling Pasha de Cartier Edition Noire, Pasha de Cartier Parfum, and Cartier Déclaration Haute Fraîcheur. Now, these two are, well, it's a miniature and a sample. I've had them for quite some time, and I've worn them, so they're not first impressions. This is a miniature. It's, quite cute. It has this little stand here, because otherwise you can't use this bottle. And I really like this. It's the same type of miniature that I also have for Déclaration, which is a fragrance that I love. And let me just remind myself of how this smells. We're going to start with the Eau de Parfum, just because, doesn't matter. This is supposed to be an iris, honey, cacao type of scent, which is one of the better iris fragrances out there, simply because it's fresh iris. And that's always nice. I'm going to look on the notes as I smell this, but this is, it's LEnvol de Cartier. It's quite, there is a difference between the Eau de Parfum and the Eau de Toilette, and we'll just see when the time comes. But this is so, typical. It's quite unique, this scent, although when it was launched, I think in 2016, if I remember correctly, yes, it was supposed to be this in the aftermath of, Cocorico by Jean-Paul Gaultier, and even to some extent L'Instant de Guerlain, but I don't think they're very similar quite at all. So the notes for this are lavender, artemisia, sage, violet leaf, pepper, honey, iris, that's more prominent, guaiac wood, musk, patchouli, amber wood, cedar, and vetiver. And there's my nemesis, amber wood, cited right there. And this isn't, obnoxious in any way. This is a very light fragrance, albeit it's an eau de parfum. Probably this is why it's never taken wind with the community, although I think it has a fan base, quite a decent fan base. It's a beautiful scent. Apart from this miniature, I was never interested in purchasing a full bottle. Not that I don't like it, it's sort of in the same, idea as many other scents that I own. But it is quite lovely, and I do like the honey iris blend. It's a very green iris, it's bitter, it's fresh, it's aromatic. You saw there sage and lavender. It's got a bit of hints from Dior Homme, but never, it's not, I suppose it's supposed to resemble Dior Homme to some degree, but to my nose, I think LEnvol de Cartier is quite, as I said, it's quite unique, and it has its own place. Now let's move on to the Eau de Toilette for LEnvol. And this is as well, this is a sample, but it's a 9 milliliter sample, so it's quite generous, and you can tell I've worn a bit from it. And I remember the Eau de Toilette, as always, being my favorite of the two, simply because it's fresher, and I think the iris, the iris is a lot more well established, maybe. It's also a lot more bitter, the fragrance, so that makes it a lot fresher. It makes it more elegant to my nose. Always whenever there's bitterness involved in fragrances, this to me makes it more elegant. And the artemisia is so much more prominent than this one. There's a bit of cardamom-y leatheriness to this one as well. As I said, I think it's just better, the Eau de Toilette. Now, the Eau de Parfum might be more interesting to some people because of that honey note. And there's also a bit of cacao patchouli involved in the eau de parfum, a lot more. So if you like honey scents, LEnvol eau de parfum is definitely something you should try. I remember when this came out, I loved the bottle so much. I thought the bottle was something so fresh looking, you know, the design. Finally, we have some design in bottles like we used to have. So yeah, and that's it for LEnvol, really. I think it's a very beautiful scent. I don't think it gets the attention that it deserves. This eau de toilette is also more camphorous. It's definitely more minty, at least. Everything is on the fresher side, so they're quite different from one another, which is very, very nice. It's not just a diluted version, it's a differently worked scent. Now, we are going to smell Pasha Edition Noire. And we'll see, this one is also, you know, quite a hefty, almost a miniature, but it's not a miniature. It's just a large sample. I'll see if I remember the original Pasha when smelling this, because it's been so long since I smelled the original Pasha. And I think it's there, sort of. It's a very woody fougère Pasha de Cartier, but it's a very interesting, spicy, you know, not necessarily oriental, but oriental through its spiciness. And whenever I smelled Pasha, the original, I used to detect a very undefined bitterness to it, which to this day I don't know what it is, but it's somewhat reminiscent of eau d'Hermès. I don't know if it's the cumin, right? I don't know if it's the cumin, but there's a spicy, very interesting bitterness to this scent. Now this one has it as well, although when I'm smelling this Edition Noire, it's more like I'm smelling some Armani fragrance, you know, some undefined Armani scent, which isn't, you know, bad, but I think it makes it maybe a bit common, just a bit more common than I like. And I couldn't tell you where that common feel comes from, but let's look on the notes. This Edition Noire came out in 2013 and it was done by Natalie Feisthauer, which is good to know. So the notes are citruses, cedar, amber, mint, watery notes. That's where the, yeah, it's like I'm smelling everything from Armani. Well, not everything, but you know, iris, black pepper, violet, heliotrope, and cloves. So I think it's fairly different from the original Pasha. We also have Pasha Parfum, so maybe that one's more true to the original. But I don't know what else to tell you about this one. It's like, oh, that's right, it reminds me of a flanker of l'Odyssée pour Homme, but I couldn't tell you which one because there's so many. So if you ask me, that's a no. Not because, I mean, I do like l'Odyssée pour Homme and their flankers, but there's so many of them. I feel like I've already smelled this fragrance so many times. So let's move on to Pasha Parfum. Maybe that's more interesting, who knows? And I think it is. There it is. Because it has a leathery, oh my goodness. Oh, this is gorgeous. It's got a leathery green spicy facet. Well, compared to the Edition Noire, it's definitely more. There's nothing noir about that edition. This one is darker, definitely. There's also a sense of familiarity to this as well. But I do like not knowing anything about this fragrance, I would wear this. I would wear the hell out of this. It's almondy and crunchy and nutty as well, and cardamomy and leathery and spicy, while still being fresh enough and green enough and woodsy, fougere-ish, barbershoppy. The notes cited are sandalwood liqueur, benzoin. Definitely benzoin. I like this. Balsam fir, tonka, ambrosinide, which I suppose is a derivative of ambroxane, maybe. Labdanum and patchouli. So I think that this one, the Parfum version, together with what was it, Baiser Volé, I think they're going on the list. On the list with you. Because you're gorgeous. I would love to wear this so much. This is going to be my scent of the day, because I'm not wearing anything, of course. And when did this come out? Is this recent? I think it had to have come out somewhere. Yes, it came out in 2020, so it's fairly recent. Should be able to find this. It is gorgeous. Now, is it true to the original? I don't think so. I mean, the basic idea of spicy bitterness, fougere, I think it's there. But this one is just so much, more. And that benzoin reminds me of something, of course, done by Annick Monardo. I think it reminds me a bit of Laura Biagiotti's Roma, because it has that sort of freshness to it. Déclaration Haute Fraîcheur. And this, of course, is a flanker. There's been so many flankers for Déclaration. Déclaration is something I like, and I have a miniature of. I'm always saying I should get a full bottle of Déclaration, because I do like it's watery violets. It's done by Jean-Claude Helena. It's so beautiful. There's something that reminds me definitely of Eau d'Hermès in there. And there it is. I think it's the same DNA in Haute Fraîcheur. So I at least in the opening, it's like the same thing. This definitely is my favorite of the bunch. This speaks to me just so much more. It's a bit more juniper-y. Is it juniper? Or it's definitely coniferous, camphorous-like. So it might be fir, it might be juniper, but it's definitely cooler, colder than the original, and more, more fougere, greener. The original is watery, dewy, fresh violets, which is so lovely. And the original Déclaration and Cartier's Eau de Cartier, which is one of my favorite scents, do have quite a lot in common. And this one is just that, only, made fresher, if that makes sense. But let's look on the notes as well, just to see the perfumer insights. This was launched in 2021, and the notes are citrus, cardamom, and cedar. Now, of course, cardamom is a big player of Déclaration, so no surprises there. But I still detect some, so it's definitely more citrusy, that's for sure. But I do still detect something coniferous in this, which you know, might be the cedar. Maybe that's just more prominent. Let's take another look at them. So LEnvol Eau de Parfum, which is honey iris, very woody, cacao, patchouli. That's a gorgeous scent. Don't know if I'll ever buy it. If I didn't until now, you never know. Then the Eau de Toilette, which is still gorgeous. A lot less pretentious maybe. And it's a very gorgeous use of that iris too. Pasha Edition Noire. I mean, I do like it. It's very manly, you know. It's that typical manly, almost Carolina Herrera type of scent. It's common. It smells like a red flag. Pasha Parfum. Very beautiful. It's something I might get. It's something I might get. I do like the bitterness. I do like the sweetness. I do detect some leather in this. Some delicious gourmand elements that aren't too much. I like this one a lot. And Haute Fraîcheur. It's like if they ever created an eau de cologne based on Déclaration, I think it would smell like this. It quite reminds me of Eau de Guerlain, which is nice, very, very nice. It's got that bitter citruses in the opening, which are very herbal and green. And, you know, I think it's a good flanker. If you ever want something that's so tonic, you know, it's so lemony. But then again, it still has that interesting DNA from Déclaration. Yeah, definitely. Alright, so this concludes for a time my incursion into Cartier scents. I think this is a very, very criminally underrated house of perfumery. These scents are done very, very well. They're so nice. There have been so many things that I've discovered and that I probably I'll purchase at some point, but definitely there's some things that are very interesting to my nose. And if you've got any other questions, do let me know in the comments. And until next time, remember, fragrance creates memories, and may yours be happy.